I've consumed a lot of personal financial content over the years. Probably doesn't surprise absolutely anyone to hear that. But I've noticed that a lot of it focuses on hitting a number, getting to that $1 million benchmark, crossing the finish line, focusing on the destination. But rarely do we talk about what happens when you get there. And I'm not talking about the Instagram version, I'm talking about the real version. But here's what the research and honestly my own personal experience will tell you. Becoming a millionaire is almost nothing like what you tend to think it's going to be. And if you don't know that, it can kind of mess with your head a little bit. Hey guys, what's up? I'm Erin and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk about all of the things that nobody puts in the highlight reel. The psychology, the data, the relationship stuff, the identity stuff, all of it. Because I think once you understand what the journey really looks like on the inside, you're better equipped to build wealth and stay mentally healthy while doing it. Here's the first thing nobody tells you. The moment itself is completely underwhelming. You've been working hard for years, maybe a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, and then one day you open up your brokerage account or your net worth spreadsheet, and there it is, 7 figures. Of course, you personally have a moment, but then life just sort of continues. The alarm goes off the next day, you make breakfast, you head into work early, you deal with the frustrating emails, and when you come home, the dog needs to go out. There's no moment where the world goes, congratulations, you're financially secure forever. And this isn't just me being dramatic, this is backed up by wealth psychology research. A Charles Schwab Modern Wealth survey found that Americans say they'd need an average of $2.2 million to feel wealthy. But here's the thing, that number just keeps moving depending on how much people have. We continually move the goalpost. The Federal Reserve's survey of consumer finances backs this up too. Many high net worth households still report feeling financially insecure. Wealth expectations rise with net worth.
Now, obviously, we have to think about what she's saying. First and foremost, one of the things that just is glaringly obvious to me is that people become millionaires in various different ways. Not everyone who's going to become a millionaire is going to become a millionaire after 10 and 20 years worth of like investing in the stock market or going down that particular pathway. But the reality is, everyone's going to feel something different. It really depends. Obviously, she's speaking about her own personal experience. When she became a millionaire on paper, she didn't feel like, oh, like, hooray, there was this like massive parade. She's obviously happy and comfortable and content to a certain degree. But at the same time, what she was expecting didn't happen. And it makes sense that it didn't happen because, like she said, people don't necessarily explain or prepare you for these sorts of situations. The other thing which stands out to me as well is the fact that she's talking about, like, basically, I'll just sum it up like this. If you're seeking validation or you're seeking like praise or applause from other people, it can make sense why you would feel like someone's going to come and give you a pat on the back and say congratulations. But it's always about how we think about stuff just on a like bigger level, because why are you trying to get to 1 million? Is it because of security for something in the future? Yes, that's why a lot of people are on this journey to make money. But at the same time, there's more things in life than security. There's obviously things that can happen that you can do to help your family that's coming after you, your children, etc. But at the same time, she said, well, look, there's studies and data that suggest that, well, you need about 2.2 million. Well, at the same time, the number keeps going up. This is what always happens. Not only because inflation and your money doesn't mean as much in value than it did previously, but at the same time, it's because people are always going to be thinking, you know, well, 1 million was cool now, but no, 1.5, no, 2, 3. People are never going to be satisfied when they're judging by worldly standards and arbitrary numbers. The fact of the matter is, it's not only about, some people are secure with 500,000 in the bank. Some people are secure with nothing in the bank. Why? Because they understand that money isn't everything. Money can help in a lot of different situations, but it's not the only thing that you need in order to succeed. Let's continue and see what.
In other words, you hit $1 million and all of a sudden the safe number becomes 3 million, then 5 million, then 10 million. No matter how many finish lines we cross, we simply move the goalpost. Especially
if you are into lifestyle creep as well, because you can hit a certain benchmark and all of a sudden you're like, okay, yeah, I'm going to start flossing. I'm going to start increasing my living expenses and all that kind of stuff. And then of course you're going to need more money because now you're trying to spend more money and trying to flaunt more money and falling into that trap. Don't fall for it, guys.
Now, is that a reason to not build wealth? Of course not. But I'm trying to set a real expectation here. If you're banking on hitting a net worth where one day you say, finally, I feel financially secure, you very well might be waiting a very long time. And truly, that feeling of wealth is more likely to come from something internal. Pausing and take a moment to look around your life and decide to be grateful for what you already have and decide to want what you already have rather than chasing some external number. Okay, this next one is probably my favorite thing to talk about because it completely flies in the face of everything you've seen on social media. And I'm not subtle about this. I'm not a huge fan of social media. The true path to becoming a millionaire and becoming wealthy is really, really boring. And I'm not saying there's anything bad about that, but I mean that it's boring in a way that is just routine, repetitive, and completely unsexy. Think about what the internet tells you about millionaires. It tells you they hustle 24/7. They take massive risk. They scale these businesses. They're looking for the next great investment opportunity. They grind it out every single day, of course, starting with a 4 a.m. workout routine. And then on the flip side, there's what the data will actually tell us. The research, going all the way back to Thomas Stanley and William Danko's classic, The Millionaire Next Door, consistently shows that most millionaire Americans built their wealth through surprisingly ordinary behaviors.
Now, it's funny that you mentioned that book. I actually love that book. And that was one of the first books I read, which helped me totally bust the myth that what we see online in regards to wealth is actually what wealth actually looks like. No. And this is where we need to be nuanced, right? So again, she's mentioned it again, like making a million is boring. And yes, typically, if you're talking about the conventional way or the way that many people, at least in the past, made a million, it was something which took time, right? Not necessarily. The more and more we go into the future, the more technology advances, it's going to become easier and easier and easier to make a million. But what's great about that book, and I think that book is even one of the books on this particular bookshelf here, is he just dispels the myth with data. Like, you think that millionaires look this way or millionaires spend this way. Typically, millionaires are people next door, i.e. the millionaire next door, the title of the book, but people that don't even, they're unassuming. You wouldn't think they're millionaires because they're not focused on driving the most flashy car or wearing the most flashy clothes or buying all this expensive jewelry to flash and to floss and to show off, to keep up with the Benjamins. They are comfortable in this, in their identity and their skin, and they don't feel any need to do stuff to get validation or to seek approval from other people. They're already content in themselves, and this is one of the reasons why they're suited, they have the right character type in order to produce their income. But let's continue. Again, it's a great book.
Contributions to retirement accounts, month after month, for decades, living below their means, often significantly below, staying in index funds and not touching them during downturns, paying off their home, and avoiding catastrophic financial mistakes. That's it. That's the list. And get this, 89% of millionaires are first generation. 80% used a 401k to get there. Not one person in a study of 10,000 said single stock investing was the key. The boring strategy is literally the method. And here's another one of the most motivating factors in all of personal finance. The first 100,000, that's the hardest.
And most people will say that as well, right? It's like you're climbing up a mountain. The hardest part are the first parts because you have to acclimatize to the situation. The more acclimatized, the more you get used to the environment, the easier it is for you to continue. If you can climb up the mountain, right, this millionaire mountain, for example, 100,000, you've done a sizable amount. Now you know, and you have even more belief that, you know what, I could do this another 9 times because you've done it once before. 100,000, all the way up into 1 million, etc. So don't make the mistake. This is basically just, if you think about what she's saying and you think about like what books like The Millionaire Next Door are trying to say to you and trying to show you, is there's this image of what wealth looks like. We see this all the way over social media. And then there's more so what the reality of what is a millionaire and someone who's wealthy is. Someone who is very patient, someone who's disciplined, someone who isn't trying to be extravagant just to be like a show off or flamboyant or anything along those lines. The rule that says, like, if you are uber wealthy, you've got mega riches, then at that point, doing that sort of stuff really doesn't matter too much, because it's not really going to mess you up. But again, we're currently in this scenario of seeing someone like Floyd Money Mayweather, right? Floyd Money Mayweather, who's going through clear financial situations. Why? Because you can have loads of money, but if you continue to spend loads of money on a monthly basis without that loads of money coming in, lifestyle creep can get the best of even the most financially affluent. So just be wise, guys. This, like, we could continue to look at stuff like this, but this is so important because so many people get the money game wrong, and that affects so many different areas of their lives. And it makes sense, because if you're not doing right in one area, it's likely that you're not doing right in many different other areas, because all of the areas in life are linked in one way, shape, or form. And the reason we know this is because we are the individual which are in these different areas, and if we're making these decisions in these different areas, we're going to be making the same sorts of decisions because that's the kind of person we are. The key for us is to become the sort of person who is ready and willing and able to manage these sort of finances. And when we are that sort of person, it's going to be so much easier for us to take those sorts of actions. So let's listen to a bit more before we wrap this up.
Before compounding kicks in, you're doing all the legwork, you're doing all the hard work. But once you have a base of assets built up, well, then compounding really starts doing the heavy lifting for you. A 7% average annual return on $100,000 generates $7,000 without you lifting a finger. On $500,000, it's $35,000. On $1 million, that's $70,000 a year, more than the median U.S. household income.
So think about it like this, right? Getting to 100,000 in this particular scenario may be extremely difficult. 100K invested, right? But a 7% return is 7,000. You multiply that by 10, $70,000, you are not doing anything. Just by literally leaving the money in the markets on average. It's not always going to be this every single year, but on average, right? $70,000. Imagine if you just take the $70,000 out and live on that. Many people could live off $70,000 a month. But that's passive.
Just from the portfolio working while you sleep. In those early years when it feels like nothing is happening, that's what the beginning looks like. The grunt work, the grind, that's the beginning. The acceleration, that comes later. Next, high income does not equal wealth. And if you look at the data, this is one of the biggest misconceptions in personal finance. Research consistently shows that savings rate and consistent investing matter far more than your income level.
Of course, because if you make loads of money, which many people do, and they don't save or invest any of it, then you could get fired at any moment in time. And what was the point of having all that money if you just wasted it on things which, on liabilities basically, things which are just costing you money without any return? The fact of the matter is, like I just said, it's about becoming the sort of person who can manage this sort of stuff. Because if you are a person who's into saving and who's into investing, that's the mindset, that's the sort of identity that you need, which is going to help you do the stuff that she's talking about. If you're talking about investing in order to compound, or investing in a business, or investing in people, all of that good stuff. Guys, we continue to have these sorts of conversations because I promise you, if you get your money right, if the identity you have towards money is right, it's going to help you in so many different other areas in life. And this is why I always say, the word of God can help you win in all areas of life, but you have to work it. Guys, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and as always, don't forget to react righteously. God bless.